You're a good man.
I mean, I can't help but think, did all these spelling bees take place at Hogwarts? Is that what they're going to explore during the development of the HBO show?
I want to see like Harry Potter do like The Office, where it's like workplace comedy, but like Ministry of Magic.
Yo, I wanted to see like the teachers in college, like almost like the UC teachers, guys. You know, they went there and then, you know, they never got a life afterwards and then they just went straight back. You know what I'm saying? And then like, look at McGonagall. Think of her like at prom getting down on tables and shit.
Those who can't do, teach.
And those who can't teach end up like Miss Cattle. I'm sorry, Joe. Do you not like that one?
Are we still on?
Yeah.
You went to the theme.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Nerd Shit Live. Welcome to Joe's last episode of Nerd Shit Live, everyone.
What, did I just incriminate myself?
Nah, I don't feel bad about that. I hold the belief that if my kid was getting spoken to the way that I was spoken to by some teachers that I went to like in school that taught me in school, basically, I would fucking sue the shit out of them. But that's neither here or there, and we can worry about that another day.
Catholic school, am I right?
What'd you say?
I said Catholic school, am I right?
You just don't got to worry about those fucking CCD kids.
I was a public school / CCD kid, so.
Oh my
You're part
god,
of the problem,
bro!
You're part of the pen stealing problem. That's what you are.
Yeah, it's honestly, and like, here's the thing: it's not to incriminate you or anything, Nick, but you know you have a pencil in a backpack somewhere that came out of a Catholic school kid's desk.
Dude, I went to CCD in a town where I didn't go to school. And I didn't know anybody. So I was just like that random kid who they're like, oh yeah, who's that guy, for years.
No. It's CCD kids, why we have the public policy, do not leave valuables in public spaces. You caused it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Nick, when you're in the office, do you also rearrange your coworkers' desks as well?
I do. I actually...
That's not a joke, actually.
You can ask, John Chang Soon, Ryan Kassir, ask those guys. Yeah, I'm bad. I must have undiagnosed OCD.
Mm-hmm.
No, you got diagnosed CCD. That's what you got, bro.
You came down with CCD. That's what
you got a case of CCD real hard, real hard. And you want to know what else went real hard this year, you guys? The Last of Us Part 2. Now that's a fucking segue,
what a segue.
right there.
Wow. I thought you were going to say Ben Shapiro.
We're getting to him.
Yeah, by all accounts, though, if you ask his wife, he's pretty soft. Anyway, Last of Us Part 2, you guys. It won the most it's now literally the most decorated game in game history. It won, I think it's something like 218 Game of the Year awards, I believe, and it totally beat out The Witcher 3 for being the most decorated game of all time, which is kind of funny because it faced a lot of controversy when it came out. So, what's your take on that? I
mean, having played both games, Pat, you said you haven't played Witcher 3, right?
I just started it.
Oh, okay. I mean, having played both games, I definitely think it's different. Witcher 3 is definitely more fun, but The Last of Us 2, it was amazing. It was just so good. The story in Witcher 3 is nothing like Last of Us 2. But even Joe played Last of Us 2, and Joe doesn't play video games. And even he knows it was an amazing game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, however, actually, jumping right into that, Joe, I actually heard that you tried to pick up where Danny left off on his saved game when you first started playing.
Did I?
At one point when you were starting, you were just like, yeah, I'm going to jump into it. I was like, okay. Where are you starting? He was like, well, where you left off last night. I was like, no, you're going to start your own game. You're like, oh, okay.
I was being facetious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, it was a great game. I was able to piece everything together. When that one big thing happens in the first like 6 minutes
Oh,
of
that's
the
true.
game,
Nick hasn't finished it yet.
I knew immediately. It was like I didn't play the first one, but I knew that was pretty monumental right there.
You want to know what else was crazy? No.
I'll walk away for a few minutes if I need to.
Nah, you're good. We're not gonna ruin anything. I think what's important to remember is that the game was extremely divisive because people give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I understand that. I mean, the one thing I didn't like about that whole situation was that how the fuck were people putting reviews on Metacritic at like midnight of the game's launch when you couldn't have possibly beat a 30-hour campaign? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I get like there's like review bombing and people want to get their message across, but like when you put things in those reviews that say things like this people has transgender SJW stuff in it, I don't want anything to do with it. It's like, okay, that's not a legitimate criticism of this game at all. And there are legitimate criticisms of The Last of Us Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not one. And even then,
I mean, like,
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the game deserved every single award that it got.
I agree.
It 100% deserved every single one that it got. And anyone who's throwing up SJW stuff as like diminishing from the game, that has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like even legitimate criticisms of the game itself, I don't think takes away from the way it made me feel, which honestly, I think that's more important in story-driven games than actual storytelling. You know what I mean, so to speak. Whereas it like the emotions it evoked out of me. Sure, it was kind of annoying to like, do the whole 2-character thing or like, have the constant flashbacks and everything. But also I feel like, TV shows do that all. The fucking Walking Dead has been on for like 10 seasons now and does shit like that all the time. Like had episodes that didn't even involve the main characters at some point. You know what I mean? So like I don't understand like why people had an issue with The Last of Us 2 doing that. But that's far and away from the point. I'm happy that it's as decorated as it is. It's a big middle finger to all those people, and I enjoy giving big middle fingers to people who are stupid.
But yeah, no, like you were saying about the 2-character thing, it's just I've never had the 2-character their gameplay made me feel hatred towards one of the main characters that I was playing as that no game has ever made me feel before. It was I've never felt something like that in the game before. And so it deserves everything.
Yeah, my only critique is that one scene where you have to play Take Me On by Aha. That goes on for way too long. You play the entire song.
You know what's funny about that is that some people actually found out how to play real songs on that virtual guitar, so to speak. Like I know Mark Hoppus from Blink-182, as if nobody here knows who he is. He played what's My Age Again? Or Damn It? I don't know. He played some Blink-182 song. They're all the same chords. But it's cool that they put that much time and thought into that, though. You know what I mean? And I do agree with you, Joe, that it did take kind of a long time to get through that. Like, Nick, did you get through the Take On Me section? What? You're muted.
No, that was your headphones are messed up.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
My fault.
Yeah.
But even then, I think that kind of illustrates the mechanics and the time it took to put that game together. And most importantly, you guys, at least I think so, judging by what we saw this fall, the game was finished when it came out. And that is what's most important to me. It fucking works. When you spend $60 on something, you really want it to work.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and can you believe that?
Which is sad.
That's something we have to think about now.
Didn't even come across my mind.
Like everybody's always like, I saw a great video about Cyberpunk actually. Now that we're on this, just recently by the Act Man. It's like 40 minutes long. It's kind of hard to get through, but he makes a lot of great points that even if you take all the visual glitches and like all the horrible performance away from the game, it still wouldn't cut it like as an open world game in 2020. You know what I mean? Where like GTA has better overall mechanics than Cyberpunk does. Like you can do more things, so to speak.
Yeah, the world is much more fleshed out in GTA.
Yeah.
This is like it's open world, as in you can go anywhere, but that doesn't mean you can have unique interactions everywhere that you go.
Right. It doesn't feel lived in, which I feel is like the most important part of open world games. But that's kind of away from the point that we're getting at right now. But yeah, congratulations to The Last of Us. Still not cool that they crunched their employees and, you know, drove. I think they hospitalized one of them, I think, or maybe that was Cyberpunk. It was either one of it's one of those two games. Don't quote me on it. But yeah, I'm glad they got what they did, but they need to work about their they need to work on their employee management relations.
Yeah, if you're getting seizures though, stay out of the development lab.
Yeah. You know?
It's a good point. It's a good point. It's a cutthroat industry.
Yeah. So moving on, Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut got an official release date for March 18th, 2021 on HBO Max. Now I think everybody kind of saw this coming because they moved Godzilla. Like they were like, hey, we're going to move Godzilla a week. And everyone's like, okay, so Snyder cut's coming. Like this is it. And you know, this is their Hail Mary. This is the only way you're going to be able to watch this cut of Justice League. Now, I don't think anybody here saw the first cut, right?
No.
Nick, you didn't see the
No,
What do you mean by the first
see
cut?
the theatrical cut?
Like the one that came out in theaters?
Yeah.
Didn't we see it together?
No, we saw Batman vs Superman.
Oh, okay. All right. I saw it, but in terrible conditions, like on a tiny little laptop while working. So I did see it, but yeah, not under the best circumstances.
All right. Well, I think everybody thinks the same thing, that it's a pile of steaming dog shit.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it was made under really shitty circumstances where Zack Snyder had to step away from directing because his daughter committed suicide, I believe, was the issue. And obviously that's fucking horrible. And like, I respect anyone's decision to drop all their work and go be with their family when they have to deal with something like that. But Joss Whedon came in and was like, fuck all of this, and reshot the whole movie in like 6 weeks of reshoots. And like they put it out. And the only reason they put it out was because if they didn't put that out, the executives didn't get their bonus for that year.
Is that true?
Yep.
Is that the real reason?
That is exactly the real reason. They have to put out a certain amount of films per year, so they get their bonus. And they were
exactly the amount. They weren't.
They were
playing it safe.
They were riding on Justice League. And listen, Justice League was not only a critical flop, it was a financial flop. Which in a world where there is literally superhero movies every like 3 weeks, and you have literally the best canon available for superheroes. Like you had Batman and Superman. How is it a financial failure? You know what I mean? Like you had to fuck up really bad to get that to happen.
Does that have to do with the amount that they spent on reshoots and everything?
I think overall it came out to like $350 million, which is the same price tag as Avengers Endgame. You know what I mean? So it's not, I don't think they were doing this economically. They were just throwing money at it at some point and hoping that, you know, something would stick or something would come together. Ultimately though, the whole reason this came to be was because there was a movement of people saying, release the Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder himself wouldn't clarify anything, but there was a video that came out of him like signing stuff at a convention. Because remember, you guys, when we used to have like public events that like people could go to and like, you know, have a good time. And he was at a table. He was at a table signing stuff, and some kid just straight up asked him like, hey, is there a Snyder, like, do you have a cut of this movie? And he finally just broke. He was like, yeah, I have a cut. He goes, the VFX need to be finished, but other than that, it's ready to go. And the cut came out, and I think the original cut was something like 3 hours, you know? Either way, HBO Max comes out. We covered that when it first came out. It wasn't on Roku. It wasn't on Amazon. It barely had any content. No one knew what the fuck was on it. I think Joe, weren't you the one who brought that forward? And then when we were talking about it on air, you're like, well, I don't even have Roku, so this doesn't affect me at all.
Oh yeah. Fire stick all the way.
So, bringing that forward though, this was their Hail Mary. Like, this was their linchpin, so to speak, wherein that AT&T saw this movement through social media, through all their analytics and whatnot, and they basically came to Zack Snyder and were like, here's $70 million, finish this, and we'll put this on HBO Max, and you'll get a proper release. And that's what he did. So he reshot a bunch of stuff. They finished the VFX, and now the movie is 4 hours long, and they are releasing it in one single cut, which is the stupidest thing I think they could do.
Here's my question. Do you think, when you say Hail Mary, do you think this is them trying to recoup losses or just save face? Because I don't think this is ever going to even come close to like saving the franchise or saving losses.
I think by Hail Mary, what I mean is that this is what HBO Max to a lot of people is meant for the Zack Snyder to exist. For sure.
You think so? That many people?
Oh yeah, dude, enough people. Like, there's HBO Max surpassed 17.2 million subscribers by the end of 2020, which was well ahead of what they thought was going to happen. And I think a lot of that has to do with, obviously, Wonder Woman, which, by the way, is the #1 most streamed property ever at like 2.1 billion views. It beat out Soul. And that doesn't include the people that you see on Twitter that say, I'm not getting HBO Max, but I will get it for the Snyder Cut. Like, there's millions of people that are going to sign up specifically for the Snyder Cut.
I don't know. To me, like, not just to be contrarian, I feel like people jumped on for Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman has already like this built-in good press from the first movie. People loved that movie. Whereas, like, Batman versus Superman, whatever the Superman movies were before that, I don't even remember what they were called, Man of Steel, and Justice League all have this terrible track record. You really think that it's going to bring that many viewers? I'm skeptical.
Yeah, when was a shitty movie redeemed by a director's cut?
Blade Runner.
Was it? Which director?
Okay, there's 7 cuts of Blade. There's 7 cuts of Blade Runner. There's 7 cuts of Blade Runner. Ridley Scott says his actual director's cut is the best one, which I haven't watched all 7 of them. I've only watched that one.
Which is the one I did the best.
Fair enough.
But so Zack Snyder's cut is 4 hours long.
Yeah. Yes.
4 hours. That's longer than a Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends. I think if you're watching the extended editions, then no. But I will say this.
I think the extended. Never mind.
I will say this. I did not watch The Hateful Eight when it came out because it was 2 hours and 48 minutes. And I specifically remember saying, I love Quentin Tarantino, but I'm not doing all that dialogue for 2 hours and 48 minutes. When Netflix bought The Hateful Eight and they allowed Tarantino to put all that footage in that he had to cut out for the theatrical release, came out to like 4.5, 5 hours long. But they chopped it up into 4 episodes and they displayed it like a mini series. And I ate that shit up. And it was awesome. And I got to do it over, a certain amount of, days, as opposed to here's a 4-hour movie, And like, I'm not the type of person that likes to watch movies in parts. I know that there's those psychos out there that like, they'll watch half a movie one day and then they'll watch the other half of the movie somewhere else. Excuse me. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all 4 hours. Let's see what happens.
Dog releases it too. Let's do our 4-hour episode as well.
Yeah, true. We'll commentate every minute as it happens.
Yeah.
Watch along.
We'll do director's cut companion watch.
Actually, yeah. Do you guys want to do like a live commentary track so everybody can sync up with us while we're watching it?
I'm gonna watch it first, and then I'll be like, do I want to put another
8
hours?
hours? Yeah.
So yeah,
4 hours.
You want to watch 8 hours worth of the Snyder Cut?
I mean, and actually the other thing we haven't talked about here is quality. You know what I mean? Zack Snyder. I'm gonna get a lot of shit when I say this. Zack Snyder doesn't make the best movies. I think Dawn of the Dead is sick, and I think 300 is sick. Everything else after that is super hit or miss. I think Watchmen is good in parts, but there's a lot of not good in Watchmen as well.
Yeah.
That being said, Zack Snyder is visual style.
Garbage day.
Garbage day. Zack Snyder's. You just hear the dumpster.
That's them.
Yeah, they're aggressive
someone
out
yelling.
there too.
Yeah, they throw the
Shut
trash
the
cans
fuck
around
up,
too.
bitch.
Let's give it up for our local sanitation department, everyone. Let's give it up.
Let's give it up for our favorite mouse this year over here too. Paying tribute to the Prince of Pop.
It's true.
There's no red leather jacket, but
Hey, Razor, do me a favor. Make a fucking mouse that I don't get allergic reactions to. Thanks.
You just
So
gotta get the lambskin mouse.
I saw like a wood. I could get like a wood mouse too. That is so fucked up. I just realized
That was good.
that was good. Liz, get the lambskin. Anyway, so anyway, moving on. Quality.
I'm
Zack
picturing
Snyder-
a fuzzy mouse now. That grows wool.
Zack Snyder doesn't make good movies, but they look nice. That's my
Fact.
fucking point. So, do you agree? I think we all agree with that.
Do you think that like Zack Snyder should just be like creative consultant? Maybe he should stop directing movies and just like, here's a cool vision. Here's
Yeah.
my idea.
We should take these directors that haven't had like a good hit in a while and put on like a Hallmark or ABC Family original movie.
Oh, that would be fucking sick, bro.
Like a
They'd-
Home for the Holidays premise by Zack Snyder.
It's just
Everything's
slow
all grainy.
motion violence.
and Santa's
Yeah.
got to
You
kill
see, like,
all his
kids
reindeer.
opening presents, and it's just all slow mo.
Actually, before we move on, I do want to mention though, there is another Zack Snyder movie coming this year that nobody talks about because they had to reshoot all of the scenes with Chris D'Elia in it with Tig Notaro.
Really?
It's called Army of the Dead, and it's coming straight to Netflix.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And when somebody asked him about like what studio interference he had, his response was kind of a jab at Warner Brothers when he said, "Oh yeah, there was none of that, studio bureaucracy bullshit that goes on in other places I've worked." And he has only exclusively made movies for Warner Brothers. So, tensions may be
Does this
high.
confirm that like he's gone for good? Like they're keeping him out of the spotlight?
Chris D'Elia?
Yeah.
I think he should be. No? Do
There
you?
was that. So, do you guys see that new thing on Netflix? It's like the history of swearing with Nicolas Cage.
I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
I haven't
So-
watched it, but I do know what you're talking about.
So, I think Chris D'Elia is like a producer or something. I was just watching the last episode of it, and his name popped up. I'm like, who let you out of your cage?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be a long time before. Why are we even talking about this? All right,
Yeah, let's
let
move on.
let a watch.
It's Leto Watch.
I never get tired of that graphic. I hope everyone liked our new graphic that we've had. Joe and Nick made that for this reoccurring segment that we have. So, Jared Leto was in the news recently again because for whatever reason he can't fucking stay out of the news. But Jared Leto was quoted saying he felt like Rip Van Winkle after he found out about COVID, which I believe, Nick, you said something very enlightening before about that reference. What was it again? That Generation Z and millennials
Oh
are.
yeah. Just like how out of touch is Jared Leto that he's making a Rip Van Winkle reference and thinking that anybody under the age of 30 is going to understand that. And that's being generous, 30.
It's not as bad as when R. Kelly called himself the Pied Piper of music, though. He just didn't know
That's
what
true.
the Pied Piper,
Oh my
really did,
God.
I think.
He said that?
Again, no one
Oh,
can top
no.
R. Kelly.
Maybe you shouldn't put that on a recorded internet forum. But so here's the thing is that he wanted to go on this meditation. The quote says that this idea is that you go away, you get rid of your phone, you get rid of distractions, you get rid of everything, and you just meditate. That's all fine and well. He goes, and he went into meditation when there was only about 150 cases, right? And then a short time later, he came out and found out about the shutdowns and found out the world changed. Now, listen, he's in his 40s now, right? Why the fuck?
He's ageless.
Why the fuck is the first thing you think about is, I'm the fucking Rip Van Winkle of COVID, bro? Like, why? Like, he definitely looked at his assistant or his publicist and they were just like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, who even knows? You know, like, so obviously we had to look up what that meant because I didn't know what that meant. And for people who don't know who Rip Van Winkle is, it's a short story by American author Washington Irvington, published in 1819. Follows a Dutch-American villager. By the way, you can read this on Wikipedia because that's where I'm reading it from. Pretty much, he drinks this guy's liquor. He falls asleep in the Catskill Mountains, and he wakes up 20 years later to a very changed world and having missed the American Revolution. Let's focus on that last part right there. Missing the American Revolution. Like, at the time, it was not that disastrous. You know what I mean?
So I think he was probably Jared Leto was thinking more about the Capitol riot. He was like, I missed the revolution.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually a threat. That's talking about his own cult. Our day of reckoning hasn't come yet.
Well, actually, Joe, it's funny that you bring that up because now that I think about it, I think there was an attempted insurrection before the QAnon one. I think it was just 30 Seconds to Mars fans, actually, though, who went after the Capitol.
I'm looking at pictures of Jared Leto, and he's looking a bit like Rip Van Winkle these days.
That's a good point.
Well, actually,
in his new movie, he looks exactly like Rip Van Winkle.
That's exactly what we were going to bring up.
Especially with the liquor.
So Danny and I watched The Little Things, which stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and our boy Jared Leto. And he does look like Rip Van Winkle in that movie. And he looks like Rip Van Winkle had a whole fucking gallon of Bush before he went to sleep for 20 years.
I think in order to prepare for this role, Jared Leto just drank Bush Light. That's all it was. Wake up in the morning, crack open a Bush Light. His beer belly is on point.
You know what's
it's amazing.
I will say, though, he definitely dives into his roles because that character had a distinct walk, too, that I noticed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I mean, let's just be upfront about it. The movie sucks. I didn't think it was good. I think the performances were good. I thought the casting was good. But for whatever reason, Rami Malek, I shit you not, is still talking like Freddie Mercury. And that's like, Danny, right? He looked like he still had the fucking teeth in. And the best,
his upper lip looks like it's fighting his lower lip for total control of his mouth.
And the best was Liz looks over at me and she goes, "Why does he talk like that?" And I go, Liz, that's his Freddie Mercury voice. So I don't know what's going on right now. You know, like he did a lot of the teeth thing. You know this?
Yeah.
Like
Still calling everyone darling.
Yeah, still calling everyone darling.
He also just doesn't know how to stand comfortably.
Yes.
Every time he's standing, like he's just very uptight and just kind of like he doesn't know what to do with his hands when he's talking.
Also, like no character in that movie is likable at all. I fucking hated every single one of them. They're the worst. Like these people couldn't hold conversations, and it wasn't for dramatic effect. It was because whoever wrote the movie had no idea how two humans communicate. Like, I'm convinced that whoever wrote this movie is an alien trying to show, like, a case study on how humans don't interact. Like,
it was Jared Leto. He wrote it.
It was Darman. He wrote it.
And let's just... It was Darman.
Can we
Remember,
do a clip
not
of the
murder
Darman
people,
clip of the week?
Darman fans.
We're not just telling stories. We're changing lives. But, actually... You know what's funny? Because, you know, HBO Max ads are all over my fucking phone now, I saw that it was like Denzel Washington's return to acting. He was in a movie last year. So, like, what are they talking about?
He hasn't been gone long. Like, Jared Leto's been gone longer than Denzel Washington from acting.
Yeah, Jared Leto thought he was Rip Van Winkle.
He was also referring to his acting career.
That's true.
Rip Van Winkle. I just came back.
I think actually, you know what? It's funny that we say that though, is because Jared Leto actually had a what was that movie he did that he was awesome in? He won the Oscar for
Dallas Buyers Club.
Dallas Buyers Club. That one. He actually didn't act for 5 years before he took on that role. It's like I think obviously he was in something before that, but I can't. Is it like Requiem for a Dream? I can't remember.
With the glove.
Fucking fucking Jared Leto's doing this to me.
Brain blast.
Brain blast.
But I will say, I actually did really like Jared Leto in the movie.
He was good.
Actually, for a serial, he was actually really good. His interrogation scene was actually pretty funny.
But was
as kind of sick as that is.
Yeah, that is pretty fucked up now that we talk about. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna spoil it. You guys have no intention of watching this, right? Joe, right, Nick?
Maybe eventually, but I don't care.
Okay. So there is a scene in the movie, and this is how the movie thinks it's more clever than it actually is. There was one scene where Denzel Washington's character, who, by the way, isn't actually a registered police officer in the jurisdiction that they're working in, by the way. He just takes some vacation days and helps them solve a crime.
The whole time I'm wondering, why are they letting this guy help? They're just letting this county patrol guy help, like out of nowhere. They're just like, we need him, who has been out of the game for 15 years.
and here's the best part. His interrogation technique is to show Jared Leto pictures of the murders he committed, gets real close, and he just goes, tell me why is that? And I'm like, why is what? He goes, tell me why is that? And he fucking slaps his lap, and he goes, yeah, your dick's as hard as a rock right now. Like, that was their interrogation technique, to show him pictures of the murders he committed and see if his dick got hard or not. Like, and then when Denzel Washington smacks his crotch, he's like, yeah, your dick's hard as a rock right now. Yes, this is not a metaphor. It's a real moment. And then Denzel Washington like goes into like one of his Denzel rages, and they're like, all right, get him out of here. And nothing happens to Denzel Washington after that. Like, what are you talking about?
That's sexual assault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a real tactic on the first 48. If you guys seen enough episodes, you have to find within the first 48 an erect penis. There's your guilty guy.
Their smoking gun was his erect penis.
I forget who. Excuse me. I forget who I was talking to about the first 48, but that show is nothing but bad news. It just gets me down. The entire
you can't binge that on a Saturday. That's not going to help.
You know, they give the ending away in the beginning of the episode, basically. You know somebody died.
Yeah, and not only that, you know somebody's going to cry, because like they can't get to the end of the first 48 and be like, well, they didn't find anything, you know, so on to the next one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true. If they never find any kind of suspect, they don't air that episode.
Speaking of suspects and criminals, guys, our main story this week is around the biggest goddamn criminals that are about 45 minutes from here.
Not garbage day.
And they're getting away.
That wasn't garbage day.
We called them out. We called them out, and they're getting away right now. But yeah. So we're talking about Gamestonks this week, everyone. God damn it, Gamestonks.
Can we get a rhythm of the night? I feel like that's a more appropriate drop.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? You're absolutely right.
This is the rhythm of the night.
Gamestonks.
Okay. Don't go too crazy.
Hold the line. We're all holding
the line. So just for complete transparency's sake, we are all vested and we are all holding the line. Never sell. Never ever sell.
I like the stock.
I like the stock.
So obviously this is the week that we all became day traders, so to speak. We became stockbrokers overnight. We know everything about the stock market. And if you don't know these things, shame on you. Get in the game, cuz. So that being said, yeah, where you been? Danny, you've been on top of this since it started. Like since before the spike or the initial spike. So I'm gonna hand it off to you. Walk us through the first couple days before, you know, pretty much me, Joe, and Nick were like, oh, this is the next gold rush.
Well, I mean, I really have to give the credit to turning me on to this, our landlord, who was in our apartment fixing our heat when, as he was fixing the heat, he was like, have you guys heard about GameStop? And it was absolutely crazy. I was on Wall Street Bets like as most of this stuff was going on, and it was just the memes were the best part, that's for sure. But it was just crazy how the guy, Deep Fucking Value, just that's his username, Deep Fucking Value, predicted this and just got everything going from the beginning. Where he picked out that this company, which I'm already blanking on what the company was that shorted it 140%.
Who cares, bro? They're going out of business.
Doesn't matter. They're not in business anymore. But he just managed to see that they shorted GameStop 140% and just convinced everyone, flood it and just start buying it and just start racking up the price.
Now,
and then everyone is just holding the line.
Just for some context so everybody knows, Wall Street Bets was wildly popular before this, but that community grew from like 1.2 million to like 5 million people in under 48 hours, and that's why they had to private it, because they weren't sure that people were there for the best of intentions. That being said, I do have somebody in my life who is on that subreddit like before this happened, and they did have biggest losers and winners of the week, and there have been smaller movements within this community to try and manipulate the stock market. However, I kind of feel like that because COVID has happened, I kind of feel like everyone's sick and tired of rich people just getting richer and middle class and poor people just getting poorer. That oh, Nick, that's a perfect representation of what's going on. That everyone was in on the movement. You know what I mean? Everyone was just like, you know what? Fuck those guys, and just decided to invest and hold the line.
This is just another version of Occupy Wall Street.
I think it's a better version of Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, agreed. It was a much better version. Where Occupy Wall Street, it was a movement, it got attention and everything, but this is actually putting one of those hedge funds out of business. This is actual real world stuff. People lost their jobs.
And you know what I say about that?
I really don't like that guy.
And so following that, we saw the stock price shoot up over the weekend to like 100 to like over 200 like last weekend, and then it dropped down to 140 by like Monday, and then they just kept driving the price up. They just kept buying and buying. I don't know where it's at right now, but tomorrow morning,
312.
312. Tomorrow morning will be the bloodbath. I've heard people describe it as the Bunker Hill of this battle, where there will be major bloodshed on both sides. There will be winners and losers for both.
Can you explain why?
Well, there's a couple reasons here. The hypothesis is if you hold the line, right, eventually the hedge fund company, or the hedge fund itself, is going to have to short more stock, thus driving the value farther. The secondary thing is, I mean, obviously that's going to put more hedge funds that's going to put the hedge fund deeper in the hole. The second avenue here is that the hedge funds just decide, you know what, it's not fucking worth the loss, or it's not worth our time. Therefore, they dump it. They liquidate it all entirely. And that's going to drive the price down. And everyone who's currently vested in it is going to lose ass loads of money.
Well, I feel like they've shown it so far. They're all in it for the long haul.
I mean,
the hedge fund?
No, the Redditors. It's like,
oh yeah,
they might lose their money,
sure.
but it's like,
you mean us?
Yeah. Hey, we gotta wait for AMC to actually, come in.
But
yeah, this is the time to send a message. So
yeah, so
in it.
You got to stay in it. And I mean, the thing is, like, if you hold long enough, like if people still just continue to hold on, the price is just going to go up. And so it's just a matter of just holding out to see at what point, what is the tipping point where people are just like, all right, at this point, I'm just going to take my winnings and I'm just going to drop out. Hey, like, man, when are they, like, at what price is it just going to be where the people are just going to be like, all right, I'm done with this now. I think we made a point. I'm pulling out and I'm taking my money.
Yeah, unfortunately, Danny, to piggyback off of that, I don't think there's going to be any long-term effects of, like, you had Wall Street guys going on CNBC and fucking crying like a bunch of little bitches, like as if they don't have golden parachutes if they lost all their money in the stock market. And they said that, who's that one asshole who was on there? He was just like, this is just people sitting at home with their COVID checks trying to make wealthy people feel bad. And like he was crying because he said he cared. It's like, dude, you don't care about people. You manipulate the stock market all the time to get, to pretty much make your dead ends or loose ends meet, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are full of shit and they're goddamn criminals. Everyone says it all the time. So why would that change now just because of this one particular situation? You know, you got stockbrokers calling for regulations. When the fuck has that ever happened in our history?
If you start putting regulations like that, like no longer having to make shorts public, then all of a sudden we're not looking at the free market that we've had anymore. It's suddenly just not a free market.
Well,
the fact that they have to just make this stuff public.
I think that's part of the issue, though, is that it never really was a free market, and this proves that. However, the offset here is that now I'm not sure if this is completely propaganda, is that if you have a bunch of people investing in dead company stocks to fuck over hedge funds and create these bubbles, you're going to have a problem going forward. Because you're just going to crash the market over and over and over. You know what I mean? Like, how many hedge funds are going to dump their stocks because in like vested profitable companies because they're afraid of this happening? And the thing is, even though, I mean,
at the same time, like, you can say that, but like, maybe if these companies weren't like over shorting the you know, these investors, you know, like making these investments over shorting things, we wouldn't be in this problem. It's okay to like short a stock if it's overvalued and you're like trying to balance things out. You can short it, you know, like that's a natural part of investing. But the way they were doing it, they were just trying to kill a company to make a profit off of it.
Right.
They were trying to short them into bankruptcy.
Right. And and you want to know what? To be fair, though, you know, husking around the corpse of GameStop for all these years is, I mean, what the reason why I feel like people attach to it so much is because, you know, when you think about it, GameStop was kind of like our thing growing up. You know what I mean? You didn't buy video games anywhere else. You went to GameStop. I wanted GameStop gift cards. I wanted, you know, gift certificates to GameStops. GameStop was the first place that I was able to like reserve copies of games, so I didn't miss like them when they inevitably sold out, because physical copies, there was only so many you can get. And unfortunately, just because of the way technology is advanced and GameStop's inability to innovate and shift its stance in the market has caused it to downfall. But I feel like that's why people latched onto it, because like they don't want to see this go, you know? And I mean, it sucks because GameStops are closing left and right. And I mean, Danny, even we went to GameStop to go get Red Dead 2, remember?
And it was dead there.
It was dead. There was nobody there.
No one was going.
Like,
it was us and two other people.
And they weren't even.
Could this prompt GameStop to take all this, you know, new capital that they have and reinvest, like reconfigure their company into maybe being like, you know, a digital purchasing platform rather than a retail?
Yeah, we talked about this, but the competition has already been made. You know, we talked about Game Pass last week and everything else that PlayStation has on their stores. Like, I don't know how you can create something that's going to compete.
I agree.
Unless you revamp GameFly. I don't know. Why not?
They are trying to revamp GameFly actually, but I agree with you, Joe. But the only thing I have to say against that would be that, excuse me. Okay, so I'm not going to sneeze. The only thing I would say in contrast to that would be that GameStop itself was told by, I forget who the company CEO was. Basically, he said, it came out in the press that he placed a call and said, your stocks are not your company right now. Do not make any major money moves because that will end things faster, unfortunately. So the other interesting tidbit is the current CEO of GameStop was also the CEO of MoviePass and the CEO of Redbox. Of Redbox too.
He's a brilliant man.
Let me tell you something. I don't think there's a more tone-deaf CEO out there. Like, he definitely can't read a fucking room. So regardless of that phone call that he received, I bet you he hung that shit up and he looked at his like assistant, was just like, we're rich. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
But I also just think it's funny that, like, Pat, going back to what you were saying about, you know, everyone went to GameStop and all that, but also think about all the jokes that people made about going to hand in like their own consoles, their old games, and only getting like 25 cents of store credit out of it.
25
and every
return.
Yeah, exactly. And I just find it funny that now all those people that got screwed by GameStop in a lot of other ways are now just keeping it afloat by just flooding it with new capital.
Which is interesting. Like, I see these memes of like the Master Shredder memes where it's like the Redditors are or it's like Master Shredder is like walking like Donatello, and it says like GameStop Redditor, and then it switches to where Donatello's all grown up and he's walking with Master Shredder. You know what I mean? But then I saw somebody like a tweet underneath that was just like, "Yo, these motherfuckers gave me $2 for a PS2. What are you talking about?" And I found out years later though, the only way GameStop meets those profit margins is because they built their business off of used games. They don't make like a big share of the profits when you sell a brand new game. Like 80% of that goes back to the developer, you know,
Right.
and you got to split that 20% with your distributors or, you know, whatever your supply chain is.
Yeah.
So, you know, they kind of had an uphill battle to from the get-go, you know, and it's not like they weren't like Best Buy or Target that just buys, you know, giant allotments of consoles or games and then just sells them at those retail prices because they know they can't sell them any higher. You know what I mean? So, you know, they always had that uphill battle, and I think people got sick and tired of that. And I think that, like I said before, their failure to innovate and change what they were led them to this point. But I don't think anybody saw this coming. Nobody.
No.
At all.
No, I mean, like you said before, like it's only a matter of time before they go out of business, as sad as it is to say, but they're about to go out in a blaze of glory.
Oh, fuck
like,
yeah.
oh my God. No one's going to forget about GameStop.
Fuck. I'm going to be looking at my son one day and be like, "Son, have you ever heard of GameStop? I've only heard of their end, and that's all you need to know, buddy." Like, everyone's going to know about how GameStop went out and how they fucked over a bunch of hedge funds on the way, you know?
Like, what's his name in the Sundance Kid or whatever? Like, died in like a blaze of gunfire in Bolivia or something. That's what GameStop is doing.
So another thing that we wanted to talk about was the power dynamic that this kind of sheds a light on between retail traders and regular Wall Street brokers, I guess, who have like access to day trading all the time. You know that they can trade over the weekend, right? And like we can't. They could also
Sounds
trade.
about right.
They could also trade off hours, and we can't either. And that already pisses people off, but then we get to Robinhood. And Robinhood did something on Thursday which is absolutely despicable. And actually is disgusting, quite honestly, if you ask me. It's worse than the bloody Guitar Center I found today. But so Nick, why don't you tell us what Robinhood did?
They fucked us. They really fucked us. They blocked anything that was potentially volatile. So basically, they're just saying you don't play by the same rules as these elites. So as far as I know, they took down that restriction for buying full stocks, but there was no like microtransactions or like half shares, quarter shares, or anything like that. But they really were, beholden to these, day traders and the hedge fund managers. I did hear, maybe you guys could expand on this, that the Robinhood people are connected to the hedge fund that, was connected to all of this.
The same investor that owns a percentage of Robinhood also owns AMC.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what
and so it was definitely an influence there where they were like, look, you have to stop this, because so many of the Redditors who were buying the GameStop, buying AMC, Nokia, all those were Robinhood users. And like, especially, which it's just sad because I'm also a Robinhood user. And on Thursday, I wasn't able to buy.
You were a Robinhood user.
That's right. They lost a customer, which I'm glad though. Joe sent me a quick article though about like if I wanted to move, I would have to wait like 15 days before my account can transfer over. But I will be starting a different account with a different company that doesn't restrict my rights. God damn it!
Which one? Which one are you using?
Probably TD Ameritrade.
Okay.
I just opened up.
TD Ameritrade had issues as well, but that was more system issues as opposed to just limiting people from and preventing people from buying.
So to add to the Robinhood fiasco, their CEO went on a bunch of financial shows. And of course, they're not going to get too hot under the collar. They want to understand his thinking. But then he made the mistake of going on CNN's Chris Cuomo show. And I don't know if you guys have seen that at all. If I wasn't so sure that we would get fucking copyright claim, Cuomo sexual, baby. If I wasn't so sure that we would get copyright claimed, I would fucking pull up the video right now. It is glorious. He gets on there, the CEO, and the first thing he says is that he's a fan of Chris Cuomo, so it's kind of surreal that he's on there. You can tell by the look at Chris Cuomo's face that he is definitely like, God forgive me for what I'm about to do to this human being. He proceeds to eviscerate, push past every like script point that he tried to make. And he even told him, he's like, yeah, I watched the shows that you went on. Like, I know you're reading from a script. He's like, so tell me how what you did wasn't market manipulation. And he said, we have rules we have to follow. We have this. He's like, yeah, but whose rules? He's like the people that you're beholden to on Wall Street or your retail day traders. And he couldn't answer that question. And then the funny part was like, well, it was highly volatile, so we had to make sure people weren't trading. He goes, but they were trading because you only allowed them to sell. So I don't understand. Like, if you saying that it was too volatile to trade, yet you only influenced people on your platform to sell, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, and he even told him straight up, he was like, this isn't a financial show. It doesn't have to be. I just want to know what the fuck you were thinking. And Chris Cuomo went so far as to be like, let me give you a little bit of advice, like some free advice right to his face, and like just totally crushed this guy. He was having a good PR day, and then he got on Chris Cuomo's show and was just fucking destroyed like in seconds. It's wonderful.
As it should be.
Good. That's
And
all I have to say.
for whatever-
Macaulay Culkin looking like douche.
I thought he looked like Kylo Ren. Like without
Yeah, actually, a little bit.
Kinda, yeah.
except
all evil characters.
yeah, he looks like all the Disney villains actually, just in one. Just
A
and
little
I'm
bit like the bad guy from Ratatouille.
and I couldn't see his lower half, but I'm sure the bottom half of him is some sort of serpent, that fucking snake, that
Oh,
piece of
yeah.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then the balls to go on national television and try to lie about what you did, bro. There's already class action lawsuits against what they did, right? And like people are gonna follow it up to and it really is market manipulation. And listen, I'm saying that like I have called out instances of that before, and I know what that definition is. But if that's not what that is, can somebody tell me what market manipulation is? And if somebody comes back and says, X, Y, and Z, why the fuck hasn't the people on Wall Street who do that gotten fucking arrested yet? You know what I mean? It's all bullshit, and that's exactly what this movement is doing. It's bringing all of that to light. So
Exactly.
fuck billionaires.
Yeah.
That's what we should...
Get ready for the sequel of the bailout. I can't wait.
Yeah, pretty much, where they're gonna bail out all the banks and tell us to go fuck ourselves again. But yeah. How is this a
This will
comedy?
make a great movie in a couple of years, though.
Yeah.
How is this a comedy show?
Yeah, we talk about nerd culture and day trading.
Well, that's the thing.
Those two things.
That was my joke. Is like, everybody became day traders this week. And there's I don't know how many people are on the Wall Street Bet subreddit right now. I'll give it a quick look, but
I am now.
it would seem to be that subreddit keeps growing, and if it, are all of these people trading, or are they just getting in on the action, seeing what they're up to 7.6 million. So that's 2.6 more than what I saw on Friday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some people could just be there for the memes.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause
That's
the
true.
memes are great.
That's true.
However, I really do think this brought awareness to people who have never traded before. Like my girlfriend, she really doesn't know much about trading. She now knows a lot more just from following this story. It really just shined a light on what the stock market actually is that a lot of people just didn't understand before.
And how much pussies rich people can be. Am I right?
Right, baby.
That
You
guy
showed them,
fucking
man.
cried on national television. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, you're worth like that guy was worth like $2.5 billion or some shit like that.
But now he's only worth $2 billion, Pat. Okay, that's a lot. That's half a billion.
He had everything to lose. Us on Wall Street Bets, we've got nothing to lose.
That's
great
true.
point.
That is a
He
good
had
point.
to go from a G5 airplane to a G3. Okay.
I
What are
actually
the people at his country club gonna say?
one of my all-time favorite threads of this whole thing is when that guy went on there crying, saying they're just coming after rich people. People were like, does he not have bootstraps? And if he does, why doesn't he pull himself up by them? They were like, maybe he shouldn't buy coffee every single day and should just make it at home from scratch. Like,
Why not become an Uber Eats driver as well as a side gig?
yeah, why doesn't he just get a second job? You know, that's pretty easy to do on top of a full-time job and having a family. God, he's so fucking tone deaf. I swear to God, these fucking... pissing me off now. But in addition to all this, though, it's interesting that AMC's stock is rising because they actually took on $917 million in fresh investment capital in an effort to stay afloat through 2021. So if that plan doesn't work, this is certainly going to help them out through the next year. You know, being that they're the biggest theater chain, and if it goes under, movie theaters pretty much cease to exist for a lot of people, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I have a plan for how AMC should pivot if people don't want to see movies anymore after COVID.
hit us with
I
it.
want to see them turn into like VR game arenas where they like map the VR, environment to a physical environment. So like, let's say they put you in like, a war video game, and they set up like the beaches of Normandy in, the arena, and then you put on the headset and you're there and you can climb over barricades and stuff. That's what I want to see, like theaters turn into these big spaces. Like, what else are you going to do with them?
That's a great idea, but imagine how thick that release form would look.
Oh, hey, I mean, you go bungee jumping. You can jump out of a plane. You sign release forms.
Good point.
And they use live ammunition.
Yeah, they could put like fans and stuff, and like blow mist on you. Be a whole VR experience rather than doing it in like your room.
I've heard worse ideas.
Right?
I've heard worse
Get
ideas.
me on Shark Tank.
I just love the idea that now I don't know if they're still doing this, but I do just love the idea that they let people rent movie theaters as well. I just think that's really cool, but I don't know if they are still doing that.
I think the only thing they can do to save AMC is, in King Kong, where they actually have this whole performance of people going out so they can see a giant gorilla. That's the only thing that's going to get people to actually come out of their homes.
The ape.
They're just going to get a Wall
world.
Street guy crying, and you pay money to go see
Be
it.
like, there's a 200-foot tall gorilla down at the AMC if you want to go check it out.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Speaking of 200-foot tall gorillas, if I'm vaccinated by that point, I'll go see Godzilla in IMAX. Why not?
Yeah.
It'll just be the whole theater will be mine. But
Suit of armor.
let's move on.
Oh yeah, it's the clip of the week. Oh, it's the clip of the week. It's the clip of the week.
All right, gents, we're here. All your, of course, OBS likes to play with everybody's feeds. So Danny, you're right over Nick. Joe, you're the size of a dime bag. That is. But you look good. Everybody can see the clip of the week, though, right?
Yeah.
All right. I haven't seen this yet, and Joe sent it over to me 10 minutes before the show.
I
So
love this layout.
It's great.
Now.
what's up? Is everything good or
Very
no?
abstract.
Oh, there he goes.
So I have no idea what this is gonna be. So
This is just a real life video game
okay.
character.
Here we
That's all
go.
this is.
As this student's appearance demonstrates, having a lax policy about dress makes it easy for a student to conceal a weapon and makes it difficult to identify intruders on campus.
What the fuck?
A dress code can reduce weapons violations, relieve tensions between gangs, reduce disciplinary
answer these?
infractions, and generally improve the atmosphere of the school. Our policy requires that students tuck in their shirts, making the belt line visible at all times. Our students
Yo.
will not wear baggy pants or colors and insignias that are commonly associated with gang activity. This policy was a collaborative effort between the parents, teachers, and administrators in this community.
Drugs.
You know,
one grenade.
And that's why we were dragged to Flynn and O'Hara every summer. So we don't smuggle shotguns and a pair of Jinko jeans.
I hope everybody realizes that this is why skinny jeans caught on. They were like, no baggy pants because you might bring a shotgun to school.
And an Uzi.
And an
There's
Uzi.
no way this guy was walking around comfortably.
By the way,
Like, you can't walk
Oh,
around
he was standing
with all
still for
this
20
stuff.
minutes. He's
Yeah.
also sweating the whole time. So
by the way,
these aren't loaded, right?
this
There's
is
no
about
clip.
this is about $5,000 in weaponry. Okay, like, and not to mention, where's his fucking cache of ammo that he's bringing with him to school? Because he's not gonna be.
$5,000 worth of guns in $15 pants.
I love this right here, where he's literally he's like, you see, I got these shits. Like,
He's like, and after all that, you forgot about these.
Akimbo.
Akimbo. It's just like we look back on these videos and they're so fucking tone deaf. You know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking way anyone would bring all of this to fuck. I mean, look, there's been some pretty horrible tragedies that I really don't want to get into detail on or the nitty gritty. But, you know, I think it's pretty safe to say, you know, if you're bringing it to school, you're bringing it to school no matter what.
All I can say is most kids go to school with a backpack. I really don't think you have to worry about him hiding a fucking rifle in his pants.
God damn it. Oh, man, that is
That's just the 90s. That's all that video is.
That's true.
This guy's definitely got like frosted tips. If you can see up above his shoulders.
Oh wait, actually, I think he
This
was.
is where if you logged on to any.
Oh
chat
no,
room,
not
you're just
frosted
considered
tips, but
kidnapped.
he's got a fucking '90s haircut if I've ever seen
yeah.
one.
That's a middle part.
What's
That
what's
is
it
a
say?
middle
You
part.
got Franz Schubert. He's at music class right now.
This is what '90s hair would look like. How's that look? You guys like that on me?
Also,
Dude.
is this a mock classroom setup, or did they actually bring all these guns inside a school?
Because if they
That's a
did,
really good question.
'Cause if
Look
they-
at the molding.
That's a really
That's-
good question.
That's real molding right there. That's not a set.
All the kids are on lunch break around noon. We'll do this then. All right.
you know, and what's interesting about the whole thing kind of is like, isn't that kind of like anti what they're trying to get across? Like, hey, don't bring weapons to school, but we're gonna show you how to do that. Like, how just don't do this. Like, here's how it's done. Don't do any of that. You know what I mean?
But here's how easy it is.
You know what's funny is that these fucking people that make these videos about like school safety and everything are so tone deaf. I had to do one once because I was working in a school, and it was this program called Protecting God's Children. It has great intentions. It's all about, like, you know, making sure that children don't interact inappropriately with their teachers, right? I wasn't really a teacher. I was just hired hand. I was 19 at the time, right? That being said, though, they went through the entire process of how, like, you know, adults groom children, and pretty much it taught you how to do it, and then went, hey, don't do any of that. Like, why are you just giving everyone the secrets then? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, why the fuck would they ever make that? All right, well, before I get canceled.
I'm looking up Protecting God's Children.
Look it up.
I'm literally doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Not for any particular reason.
No.
Oh yeah, no. If you did anything in regards to you know, teaching or coaching for private school, you had to do that program.
Which is fine,
Sure.
but once again, it's literally like if if anyone who was a predator got a position, and they would be like, this is great, a whole info session. You know what I mean? Like,
You got any pamphlets I can take home?
yeah, hey,
This is so informative.
yeah. And the worst was they would have, you know, I don't think you can be an ex-predator, but they had, you know, formally charged.
Stranger things have happened.
You know, they had formally charged predators, like
Right,
giving
got my 30-day chip as an ex-predator.
Exactly.
giving their testimony on how the techniques they used. And it's just, I just sat there and was like, why are they telling everyone this? Like, and they made it a big point to push, like, hey, by the way, priests don't actually do, like, it was absolutely the
By
most
the way,
propaganda bullshit
Yeah,
I've
before
seen
you guys
in a
go,
while.
we just gotta let you know.
That's pretty much what it came down to.
I just like that nobody's ever called me God's child before too. What
You
a
don't know
grand
that. You
claim.
know what people say about you behind your back.
Is that what they're saying about me, Tom?
I mean, they call me
God's
Satan's
child.
spawn. So,
Yeah.
hey,
That's
Satan was
chill.
an angel
Well, that's
at
the
one
public
point.
school
Child.
program. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being, what a great jumping off point. Am I right? What a great sign off. So, with that being said, thanks for listening to this episode or watching this episode of Nerd Shit Live. Did I do intros this week?
They know us.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm Pat. There's Dan, Nick, and Joe. Once again, we thank you guys for tuning in every single week. Everybody who's listening to this on the podcast version is awesome as well, but you should definitely tune into the live streams every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Anyone who's watching this right now and wants to listen to it again on the go, they can check the podcast version of this show out on every major podcast app. And once again, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. And, hopefully we'll still have a show. Ta-ta.